This system is impacting all of our roadways. That's why this evening, 13 on your side's Josh Albertus is tracking those roadways for you. He joins us live. Josh, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, Lauren, I was also tracking conditions Wednesday night during round one of our winter weather this week, and I can tell you, based on what we're seeing, they're two very different scenarios with their own unique cautions and dangers about them. Flip the camera around, you can see what we're seeing on the roads right now. Much quicker accumulation on the roads that we've seen than what we saw Wednesday evening during round one. You remember then it was it was a lake effect system. You could get those very quick shifts between clearer, better conditions and more whiteout conditions. The wind was a very, very big factor in that as well. But the major concern this time, as we've been saying, isn't as much the wind on these roads. We're not really feeling that as much as this accumulation you can see, the amount of snow. Then these are similar conditions across the entire area, not as isolated as those more lake effect conditions earlier this week as bands moved in. You know, we're already seeing a lot of those deteriorating conditions, a lack of pre-existing tire trails, I'll mention as well in some areas, especially when we were heading on northbound 131 near M6. We really didn't have any trails there at that point as the snow was gathering. And this is really just the beginning, as we've been saying, as we expect this to continue and get worse throughout the evening. And this appears to be more of that heavier, wetter snow that can complicate travel even more in a lot of instances. It can be harder for cars to get a grip, especially if you're stopped somewhere like a stop sign or a red light or somewhere like that. It can be harder for those tires to get traction and get a grip on roads like we're seeing here. So some of what we were hearing from local leaders this week still applies. I mean, if you have to go out, make sure things like your wipers are good, your antifreeze is level, and your tank, your gas tank, has a good amount of fuel in it. And of course, one of the biggest things we were hearing, keep your distance, which we've been trying to do all night. We're going very slow and trying to keep that distance between us and the people in front of us to avoid any as much potential as possible for any sorts of accidents or crashes. Keeping that distance is very important, especially as road crews are probably expected to get out and continue working on these roadways. I would mention, as I did earlier this week, again, it's actually Michigan law now that you do have to keep at least a couple hundred feet between you and a snowplow when you are driving down the road. That is Michigan law now. But what happens exactly, I mean, if you do get stuck in conditions like what we're seeing out here, state officials actually recommend having an emergency kit with you in your cars. I printed out a list from the state of Michigan to kind of get a sense of some of the things that you should be packing in your vehicles if you do have to go out, and in the case that you do get stuck and you don't know exactly how long it may be until you can rectify the situation. Things like flashlights with batteries, jumper cables, non-perishable foods, because you really don't know exactly how long it may last. A first aid kit, some simple tools like a wrench and a screwdriver, as well as, of course, the warm clothing, the change of clothes as well, because you really want to make sure that you're prepared for any of those colder conditions if you were to be there for an extended period, or if, of course, goodness forbid, you had to go outside to do any of those activities, or perhaps reach a nearby location. If you did, then this emergency kit is really made to prepare you for any of those situations that you may find yourself in if you do fall victim to the winter weather conditions that we are seeing. But we will be kind of going through more of that in this half hour and trying we're going to lay out for people kind of what all is in that kit and what you should anticipate to bring if you do have to be on these roads, if you do have to go out in these conditions like what we are seeing now. But for now, I'm going to send it back to you, Lauren, in the studio. For now, live in the Weather Chaser, Josh Albertus, 13 on your side.